Hello, everybody, and welcome to Kiki and Kibitz, a special bonus episode featuring Laura Jallali you know her from 90 Day Fiancé. She was married to Aladdin, maybe still, I don't know the story yet. Anyway, welcome. Thanks for joining us, and we're really excited to talk to you.
Hello,
and of course,
ladies.
I have Mary here, of course, my lovely co-host.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Laura. Welcome.
And I have my co-host too, ladies.
Oh my God, so cute. I love
him. He's adorable. What's his name?
Well, he's a she.
Oh.
She is Emerald. She is my baby girl Pitbull.
Oh, so hi, Emerald.
She's my co-host.
Hi, baby. I want to kiss her. She's so cute.
Be a part of the show.
Well, dogs are always welcome wherever I am, that's for sure.
Yeah,
so big dog lover.
Welcome to Laura and Emerald.
Yeah, right. Welcome to both of you. Thanks for joining us. So where are you right now? Tell everybody where you are.
So I escaped Ecuador when COVID just hit last April. I was able to get on a rescue flight actually into Miami because the Canadian rescue flight would not take my girl, Emerald. They refused.
Oh my God. What, they thought you were going to leave your dog in Ecuador?
Yep, they sure did. They said no surfboards and no dogs. I'm like, but she's actually a certified service dog. And they're like, we don't care. You cannot bring your dog back to Canada. So I was like, well, screw you. I'm not leaving my dog in Ecuador. So, it was about a month later, finally I was able to hop on to an American rescue flights for Americans that actually had room for a Canadian and her dog. And so me and Emerald flew into Miami. And then the next day we flew into Canada. So we're home in Canada.
We saw I saw footage of you. Was it 90 Day Diaries or it was the 90 Day quarantine, right? 90 Day quarantine.
You know what? They changed
so many
the name.
Gazillions.
Yes. It was 90 Day quarantine for my first episode. And then for my second episode, they're like, okay, we've changed name. It's now 90 Day Diaries. I'm like, wow.
So, but that was a trip watching you in Ecuador with COVID happening. And so tell us about that. You were talking about running out of money and there's no one on the street. Like, what was that experience like?
Well, I mean, I didn't run out of money, but I didn't have the air flights. Literally, I flew into Ecuador for $200 American. The flight back home into Canada was $2,000 to go on the rescue
oh my goodness
flight. So like, because the borders were closed, the airports were closed, there was only these emergency flights. So the price to get out of the country went through the roof. So the Canadian government said, hey, if you want, because it's an emergency, we will loan you the money. So I said, hell yeah, if you guys want to loan me the money, I will totally take a loan, bite the bullet. I just wanted to get out of Ecuador because it was very bad. We had, you could only go out to the grocery store only between 6 a.m. till 3 p.m. And then it was a total lockdown. The city that I actually flew out of, was hit extremely hard. Dead people were literally in the streets.
Oh my God, that's so scary. That's terrifying.
Yeah, it was horrible. Absolutely horrible. Like when we went to the airport, I actually put socks on Emerald, my dog's feet, because I just didn't want her to pick up some sort of
disease or something. My God.
And that must have been so terrifying for you, worrying about just being exposed to COVID.
Yes, and not
And-
speaking Spanish. And
Oh, you
the
don't
all
speak Spanish.
no,
Oh,
no, and all the hospitals were actually overrun. I was feeling really sick, so I was actually talking to Tom Brooks, good old Tom
yeah.
from 90 Days. He said, Laura, if you have to go to the hospital, take your phone. I speak fluent Spanish. I will talk on your behalf for you. And I said, Tom, that is so sweet of you, but you know what? They're not even accepting anybody into the hospitals because they
Yeah.
can't contain this virus. Like
Right.
it's a third world country.
Did you
So,
have COVID though? Were you sick just with
I
something
don't
else?
know. I have no idea.
Oh,
I
wow. I
to
wonder
this
if you
day
had
if I-
COVID.
I don't know. I was very,
That
very
must
sick.
have been so scary, Laura. Oh
Were
my
you
It was
lonely?
really.
Were you lonely
I'm
there?
sorry?
Because it looked so
Yes.
lonely. You were staying alone,
I was lonely.
right?
Yeah, I was really lonely. I belong to a North American expat group, but we could not visit each other. We could call each other up, but that was it. But I was just so lonely. Like
Yeah.
I was still mentally, because of what had happened in my life, I was still having a very hard time coping with everything that happened to me out of the blue.
Right.
I lost everything that I took to guitar because my husband of the time would not allow me to return back home to collect any of my items. And when I went to guitar, I took everything that meant anything to me. Like I took everything. And so it's just, I lost a relationship. I lost all of my personal items. I lost my relationship with my son. So all I had was this
Oh my
little
God.
girl right here. And I'm telling you, if I didn't have to take care of her, you know, my story could have ended very sadly, to be really honest, because the depression and the loneliness was so bad. But because I had my
Goodness.
dog, I had a reason. I had to get up every morning, and I just thank God for her every single day.
I hear you. My dog's
hear
got
you.
me through a really difficult divorce, and my son went to college at the, I get it. It's like, are you and your son doing better?
Yes, thank God.
Because you were really close
fine.
before. I could tell you were like
Yeah.
with my son, like you guys were like this. So to have that would break your heart,
Yes.
right?
It was hard. It took a long time for him to trust me and to get that relationship back to where it was. And thank God he now lives with me. I actually put him through college.
Nice.
He is just graduating at the end of August. And,
Congrats.
our
that's
relationship
great.
is back on track. So,
Well, that's awesome.
but we're
Glad
there.
to hear it. So how did you emotionally, how did you get through that time? Was there anything that you did that really helped you? Like, I would, like meditation, or like just lots of trying to call people, stay in touch on the phone. Like, how did you get through it?
I had a really good friend in California, and he was my daily source of helping me get through the day. Like, he was my best friend, and he just was always there for me. So, I owe him a lot. But I didn't. My mother is a very religious person, like
Okay.
almost borderline cult.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I understand exactly what you mean. But,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I believe in God, but my mother has very much rejected me to follow her God. So
Oh,
I have a lot of hurt out of that relationship, but I still believe there's a higher being, and I believe in karma, and I believe you need to put good things out in life to get good things back. So
Yes.
my entire trip to Ecuador was kind of a whole healing process for me. And I believe that animals like our dogs can also be a part of that healing process too.
Absolutely. No question. I'm really
Definitely.
curious. Why did you go to Ecuador? Was it just a vacation?
I was invited down there by Corey. He said,
Oh,
because I had literally nowhere to go. I could come back to Canada. Canada is a very expensive country to live in. So at that time, it was pretty much my own option because my son Liam, who is he's Canadian and he's American, but he wanted to come back to Canada. So my choice was come back to Canada, and I just didn't want to come back to Canada. I wanted to go to, in my head, Ecuador was this beautiful tropical place. Corey told me how cheap it is to live.
Right.
So to me, with the money that I had, I thought, you know what? I could go live down there for at least half a year, and I could live very nicely on a beach and just kind of,
like
heal
restart.
myself.
Just
Yeah,
do a
do a
reset,
restart.
basically.
Right,
A
yeah,
reset.
right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's what I
And
did.
so was that the case, or was it different when you got there? Were you surprised by what you saw?
Oh, well. So when I arrived at the airport, Corey wasn't down there yet. He was still in the States. So Evelyn and her boyfriend picked me up at the airport.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, this is very uncomfortable. Like, does Corey know you have
Corey
a boyfriend?
yeah, right. And did he?
Well, he knew something was going on, and eventually Evelyn's cousin told him she got a boyfriend, and it was Evelyn lives in Inglebow. A lot of people have this misconception that Evelyn took me to her house, she took care of me, and that's a baloney story. I went to Inglebow for 2 nights. Evelyn lives in a hotel. They call them hostels, and she lives on the top floor. So
Okay.
I rented a room on the first floor, 2 floors below her. It was only like $10 a night, but I mean, I couldn't stay there. Like Inglebow, there's no debit machines, there's no shopping. You have to speak Spanish to be able to survive in this remote village.
Right. It's not like a major city.
No.
Right.
So she took me there. I rented a room for 2 nights, and I said to Evelyn, I don't feel Inglebow's for me. So I went to the closest city to Inglebow called Playas, and I actually rented a room first for about a month, and then I got myself a condo there, a 3-bedroom condo, to which when Corey returned back to Ecuador, finally, he ended up living with me because she wouldn't let him back in.
Oh my goodness.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
So gosh, what was going on there with the boyfriend with Corey, and like, was she cheating on him, or were they on a break like Ross and Rachel, or what was the deal?
Okay, so here's the deal. They are legally married since 2018. They,
Really?
they are married.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, what I was not aware of is they were basically doing a separation. And at that time, Corey was back in the US. Corey met up with Larissa from the show, took her out on a date, spilled the beans to Larissa that he's actually married to Evelyn, and things aren't going well. She entertains other men every time he leaves to go back home to the States. She's unable to travel to the States because when she was in the US, she stayed past her visitor's visa date. So when she went to exit the country, they pulled her into secondary and she gave them a whole lot of attitude, which you don't do with custom officers. They went through her purse, took out her cell phone, got her password, started reading her messages, found out she was working illegally in the US and have banned her from the US for the next 10 years.
Oh my
So-
God.
Oh, interesting.
She's a
Yeah.
piece of work, isn't she?
She is a
She
piece of work.
is.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
we only know what we see on TV, and we have now spoken to, like, we know a lot of the cast members from 90 Day Fiancé. In fact, we just had a very long talk with John Walters, who he loves Corey, but it's like, we only know what we see on TV, but she seems like a fucking bitch. I mean,
Yes,
no holds
yes.
barred. There's no other way to see it. She's rude to him. She's abrupt. She puts him through the
And-
paces, like that poor man.
And Laura, hearing this whole story, I was watching Love Games. I don't know if you watched it, Brianna. And
Yeah.
when they were on Love Games, he could not mention Larissa's name. Do you remember that? They
Yeah.
were doing something. And
Yes, I
every
do
time
remember.
He would
Yeah.
mention Larissa's name. She would
Yeah.
throw a temper tantrum, storm out of the room. It's like,
Right.
why do you have to mention that bitch's name? Why does that bitch's name have to
Now
come
we
up?
know why.
Now we know why.
So what is she, dude? So is that the edit that she gets, or is that really her personality? Is it what you see is what you get? Is she that much of a cow?
She's a bitch. She treats Corey like a dog. And so when Corey lived with me, we had so many long conversations. And because I've been in abusive relationships, like not just with Aladdin, but I've had an abusive relationship before him, I
Right.
said, Corey, you know, when you're in an abusive relationship, you have to begin to love yourself enough to say, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve to be treated so badly when all you do is give, and all they do is take, and belittle you and make you feel like crap. Like his
Right.
personality would change. With me, he was one way. He was happy, he was fun, but as soon as he was in her presence, he became like this dog where he just was very quiet, said nothing. Like his personality like that would change, and he became very submissive towards her. And it just, I
That
felt
must have
so
broken your
bad.
heart, right?
It
And
did.
so, but
but-
what is he that he sees in her? I don't get it. Why? It's just Stockholm
You know,
syndrome.
I was about to say Stockholm syndrome, Brianna.
you got to love yourself enough to get out of a controlling abusive relationship. You have to say, I deserve better. And right now he just can't get himself there. And another thing is he loves being on TV. He
Oh.
went through school, he was in college for acting, so he loves the limelight. So he will.
So them as a couple is what keeps him in the limelight, right?
Yes, and
Exactly.
that's why he went out with Larissa, because he thought, okay, me and Evelyn are on the separation right now, so let me see if Larissa's maybe interested, and maybe I could continue the show with Larissa. But she didn't have any interest in him, so
She
that
doesn't seem
came
that
to death.
nice either. That poor man. He needs to be with someone at least kind. Are
Well,
they together now though? Are Evelyn and Corey back together or no? Or can you not tell? I understand if you can't tell.
I mean, I'm not under contract. My contract
Okay.
has ended. But
Okay.
I know what happens in the show because I still have friends in Ecuador who told me what's going on. Apparently, they do show a wedding ceremony towards the end, but they also, Corey tells a story how he was actually unfaithful to her, to which I was actually there when that went down. But when they filmed it, I wasn't present. What they did is they filmed the girl he cheated with after I had left. So they kind of, I guess, made Corey look like the bad guy. But you know what Corey told me when he came back and she had her boyfriend and he had to live with me. He said to me, Laura, I think I could maybe get over Evelyn if I actually got myself another girlfriend. And if I slept with her, I think I might be able to get over Evelyn. I said, listen, homeboy, do whatever you gotta do.
Do it.
You're like,
get
go
One
for
nail
it.
drives out the other.
You're like,
Yeah,
Corey,
please.
go for it.
I
Right.
was like, do it. Let's go. And we went on this mini vacation with another good friend of ours to this place called Selena. And he did get jiggy with the girl. And he told me it was the best sex of his life. And I was like, go, Corey. Good. Thank you, Jesus.
Laura's,
He's over her.
Laura's throwing him a ticker tape parade. He's like, good for you.
Yeah. Counseling by Laura.
You know?
Yeah, right.
Go find yourself somebody get jiggy with. But I mean, I could only say that because I saw how Evelyn was habitually cheating with him, not just with one man, but with several men in the
Ew.
area. So it's like, obviously there's no loyalty. So I kind of thought, okay, maybe their marriage is going to end finally. Like, and as friends of theirs get so tired of makeup, breakup. It's like, oh, for Christ's sakes, just be done with it already, right?
Right.
But it's a habitual thing. Neither one of them have good friendships anymore because we all just got burnt from it because they would want us to choose sides. And I was like an innocent bystander and I just wanted to go on a vacation.
Right.
And
You
keep
got
my
drawn
head.
into something, right? Like
Yes.
I'm someone who does not read a lot of tabloid press, but I saw headlines, something about that. What did
Yeah.
something happen between you and Evelyn?
No, actually nothing happened between me and Evelyn. Corey had the rendezvous with this girl during the vacation. And instead of her getting mad and upset with Corey, she started to do lives with a blogger who has absolutely never had anything good to say about me. And she just started to like disintegrate me. I'm like, girl, why are you mad at me? I didn't cheat on you. Why aren't you mad at Corey? Well, why are you taking this all out on me and doing lives saying horrible things like I'm crazy, I'm fat, I'm this, I'm that. And you know what? It was a very difficult time for me mentally. Not that I ever showed
Right.
that I
And
was
wasn't
crazy.
Corey living with you to begin with
Yes.
because she had
Right.
a boyfriend?
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah,
Correct.
okay, Evelyn, okay.
Yeah, I was not
Yeah.
the crazy person. Yes, I was going through so much what is the word? Loss and rejection from a
Yeah.
man who I believe who told me, Laura, let's go on the show. I promise you, I will never break your heart. I will never leave you. My son was with us in Africa, and he told my son 3 weeks prior to the tell-all, Liam, go home. Don't worry about your mother. Stop worrying about your mother. I'm her husband. I'm going to take care of your mother. Go home, live your own life, and don't worry about your mom. I got her.
Yeah.
So stop.
Yeah. So
And
you were
then
going
3
through a
weeks
lot of
later, it's
loss.
nothing.
And we'll
Right.
talk about that a little bit later in the interview for Patreon people. But yeah, so you were going through all these things, and then suddenly Evelyn is bringing you into their dirt. Is that's
Yeah,
what's
it
going
was.
down?
Yeah, it wasn't.
That's not cool.
Yeah, and it wasn't
was-
necessary, you know. It's
Yeah.
like she was having her own issues. Why drag you into it? So
Yeah.
I could see why
Yes.
their
Yeah.
friendships are like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be
Okay,
friends with
so-
a couple like that.
So now I would love for us to talk about your relationship, your experience on the show, But for those of you who are listening on audio, the rest of this interview will be on our Patreon, patreon.com/Kiki and Kibitz. And it will be there. The part that you just heard will also be on video. So yeah, so go to our Patreon and check it out. And we'll finish the rest of the interview there.